This is the Bleav in Pro Wrestling podcast. Here's Rick Ucchino and SP3 on the Bleav Podcast Network.
Yeah, about that. SP3 ain't here no more. On Wednesdays, calm down.
He gone.
He's still here 75% of the time here on the Bleav in Pro Wrestling podcast. Do not worry. But I got to get my voice guy to recut it for our Wednesday shows, our big NXT recap shows, because 2.0 has just driven SP3 so insane he can only recap the show once. So he's going to be doing that for Wrestle Talk, so make sure to follow him on over there as well. He's every freaking where. But joining me here every Wednesday now, my good buddy Jeremy Bennett, breaking down NXT 2.0. Appreciate you. Welcome aboard. Welcome to Bleav in Pro Wrestling. It's good to have you, good sir.
Hey, thanks for having me on. Honored and privileged to be here. And hey, we had a pretty good episode tonight. Better than last week, and a lot of noteworthy things, I would say, came out of this show tonight.
Headlines, baby. That is all I ask for is headlines. That is what I root for out of my pro wrestling. Whether it's good or bad, just give me something to talk about. It's like people who worry about the crowd reactions, right? Like, oh, what if they boo me? What if they cheer me? Who gives a shit? If there's a reaction, it's a good damn thing. It's the same thing with this. I kind of worry sometimes that we ain't going to have enough to fill out a show after an NXT show. Ain't no problems with that. We got new NXT Tag Team Champions in Pretty Deadly. I know that's going to piss off SP3 because he was rooting for the Creed brothers, as were a lot of people tonight. Yeah. NXT, by the way, they went out and they were luxury shopping. They went out and got a boat. We'll talk about Natalya's appearance on NXT 2.0 last night and her attacking Cora Jade. Dakota Kai unsuccessful in capturing the NXT Women's Championship. What could possibly be next for her? What about Solo Sikoa? I saw a lot of people ranting and raving about him in a good way on social media last night. What could his future hold? Also, a big announcement for the UK. We'll talk about this stadium show that's going on and so much more because, oh, by the way, Tony Khan is a crazy, crazy man, and we got a hell of an episode of Dynamite coming up tonight. Tony, you didn't have to go out and be so extravagant for my birthday, man. You didn't have to do it. Yeah, I would have been just fine with Samoa Joe and Suzuki, but then you got to go out and give me Penta and CM Punk. You're spoiling me, Tony.
It's all for you, and he's giving you an extra 30 minutes, too.
Oh, God, the overrun. That's right, according to Dave Meltzer. So much to get into. We got to start off, though, as we always do, giving a shout-out to our friends over at BetOnline. We would not be here right now without them. They continue to be the #1 source for all of your betting needs and sports info. Find all of the latest developments, including updated odds on the NBA playoffs. Sorry, Cavaliers fans. Fights, even more seasons futures. And don't forget, MLB is back. It was opening day yesterday, as you can tell here in Cincinnati. Who you picking to win the World Series? You can go to BetOnline and you can place that wager right now. The continued source for all your sports wagering needs, including live betting in your favorite Vegas casino and poker games. Super easy to get started. Head on over to the website today or use your mobile device to join. Use our promo code BLEAV, BLEAV, to receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. BetOnline, where the game starts. And it was Title Tuesday, Jeremy. We got one guaranteed title change, and that was the only title change that we saw in the main event. 5 teams, gauntlet match. I loved how this was set up. I love how this was booked. You had the Creed brothers actually excited to draw the #1 spot. We saw the return of the Tumbler. Couldn't get that for the Royal Rumble, but we get it tonight. Creed's draw #1. They say no problem. Wouldn't have it any other way. And of course, Pretty Deadly, the team that has been stalking the Creeds, the team that has been attacking the Creeds, they get the #5 slot. Creed brothers run through everybody. Pretty Deadly in the end, though, captures the NXT Tag Team Championships in their first match on 2.0. I was rooting for the Creeds. You were rooting for the Creeds. SP3 was rooting for the Creeds. Everybody and their brother was rooting for the Creeds. But damn it, man, this match was just so well booked. I ain't got no problems with it.
No, because, if you remember correctly, the team that vacated those titles, MSK, were hot shot into the tag team title. Of course, they didn't win it on their first match. They had to go through the Dusty Cup to do so. But Pretty Deadly, they'd go to a gauntlet match, even though they had the easiest path to go there. They still went into a gauntlet match, took on a tough team that has been pretty much seasoned. They are pretty much a team that is championship caliber. They could easily go to the main roster right now with the talent those brothers have and one of the best managers in the game in Malcolm Bivens. The story was there. The crowd was behind that story. We thought they would give us that story, and then they didn't give us that story.
Again, though, I don't mind it because you have a team. You have a team in Pretty Deadly who are coming over from NXT UK. They are well accomplished over there. And you're trying to set them up as a big deal right off the bat. And they have succeeded in doing that. And the Creed brothers looked incredibly strong in defeat. It took 4 teams. And even then, there was like so many like little hope spots and false finishes at the end. This is a monster tag team. I don't know what their future holds on the main roster because tag team wrestling right now is hot in WWE, but again, as Sid and I talked about yesterday, I think a lot of that has to do with that being the Randy Orton factor. As long as he's a tag team champion, tag team wrestling will be focused on. It's hard to say what the Creed brothers' future is in WWE because tag teams are so on again, off again, on again, off again. But I mean, there's a lot of talent, a lot of potential there, and they looked really strong in defeat last night. They will win the tag team championships at some point. I guarantee it.
Plus, if they consolidate those tag titles permanently on the main roster, that's going to shrink the amount of teams that is going to be focused on and put into that situation. I think it's going to be dangerous if they permanently do so. We don't know what the future holds. Of course, the rumor was that they were going to unify the world titles and then create a new title. We don't know if that's still the plan or not. So if they are truly getting away from the brand split, this is not the time for the Creeds to come up now. The time is for the Creeds to make that babyface comeback and take those titles off of Pretty Deadly eventually.
And they will. And I don't know what it is though, man. Like I don't really watch NXT UK religiously. If there's a major show, I'll check it out. So
it's hard when you got so much to watch.
Exactly. And hell, I don't have time to watch Impact, and I would love to watch Impact, but I got to take at least one night off or I'm going to end up divorced, and I don't want to end up divorced.
Yeah. And for me, I work, normally I take phone calls all day working for an insurance company, but now I've kind of transitioned into chat. So now I can have the TV on in the background and maybe I can get now a little more NXT UK, maybe if I, continue this job here. So, maybe I'll start to pay attention a little more now. Plus,
they're bringing over a lot of talent from there too.
Mm-hmm. And, they got the big show coming up too. So, that some people from that brand are going to be on that big show that we're going to talk about later on.
Yeah, absolutely. But there is something about Pretty Deadly that I don't know what it is. You can't help but notice them and you can't help but pay attention. They are very, very into this character work. They're very flamboyant in the best way possible. There's something about them. I like them. I don't know what it is, but I like them.
It's a tag team version of Tyler Breeze, basically.
That's a good point.
And I thought it in the back of my head, and Scott Fishman from TV Insider, he tweeted it. He's like, man, if Tyler Breeze was still here, he would be the perfect manager or head of a faction with that tag team. Man, why not? Why not bring him back? It wouldn't be a bad idea. Plus, he could be an agent, a coach. He has his own wrestling school. Yep. And all that's down there in Florida. So, I don't know what he's thinking. I mean, he's obviously not in a rush to get back to things because I don't think he's even wrestled a match. If I maybe one, I don't know. I know Dango's been a little more active.
Yeah. I haven't really even seen Tyler Breeze out anywhere. Like Dongo's done some stuff and he was at WrestleCon. I saw him, got to meet him briefly.
GCW.
Yeah,
great match against Alley Catch at Effie's Big Gay Brunch. That was some entertaining stuff between those two. Plus, I think Dango said he might be retiring very soon too.
Yeah, he's winding it down, and Tyler's even made mention before, like, look, he's not in any hurry. He doesn't know what he wants to do, so he's obviously enjoying, whatever the heck he's doing right now. I'm sure he'll pop up sooner rather than later, but I do think this would be a great spot for him as they kind of continue to integrate the veterans, right? We saw a great run with Dolph Ziggler. We saw AJ Styles pop up to kind of give Grayson Waller a little bit of a rub there. And now it's Cora Jade's turn in the form of the best of all time, Natalya, showing up on NXT 2.0 last night. First things first, got a tremendous reception from the crowd, a very, very respectful welcome, something that she definitely deserves. I know she's not everybody's cup of tea. There are people out there who don't give her the credit that she deserves, and for one reason or another are just not into her as a character. And that's, that it is what it is, and it's fine. You're not going to like everybody on TV, but I feel like she is somebody who doesn't get the respect that she deserves.
It's hard to buy the heel side of Natty when you know that she's that genuinely nice in person. So it's kind of hard to buy the heel side, but she's been playing it off pretty well, and she's been doing the heel side for quite a while now.
Yeah, the problem is like what they have been doing with her as of late has been, okay, well, you can tag with this person.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, so this isn't working out with Lana. All right, well, we'll put you together with Tamina. Okay, well, now you're not tagging with Tamina anymore. Now you're going to be tagging with Shayna Baszler, even though you spent like the entire summer feuding with Shayna Baszler. Oh, well, wait a minute. Now you might not even be tagging with Shayna Baszler anymore. We'll get to that. This is a much better spot, though, for Natalya. She gets this great reception, an emotional exchange with Cora Jade, who obviously grew up a fan of Natalya's and so many others. I love the name drops that Cora Jade had last night. And honestly, right before like Natalya's music hit, I'm like, oh, please let Paige come out right now.
Oh,
wouldn't that have been a tremendous spot? She's still under WWE contract, and they're not doing anything for her. My pipe dream at this point would be for Paige to show up in NXT and be like a coach mentor type person to Cora Jade.
Yeah.
That would be my perfect scenario out of this, because
that'd be tremendous, because I think in the end, this is going to lead to Cora Jade winning the NXT Women's Championship. I felt it coming off a Stand and Deliver that Cora was going to they're going to continue that feud with Mandy, and she was going to eventually take it off of her. And I think they're still building to that. It's just going to take a little longer now that she's going to feud with Natalya here for the next month or so.
Yeah, well, and it sounds like Natalya's going to be there for quite some time, because we saw that also after she had this heartfelt, oh, you're great. I love you. This, that, and the other thing. I'm so glad I responded to your message in the future. You're the future of NXT. But then it's bleak, bitch. I'm actually surprised she didn't throw the bitch in there, because Natalya says bitch more than anybody else on the entire roster.
Yeah. We saw that coming, though. We saw that coming.
Of course we did. Of course we did. But Natalya played it off so great, because you could see the genuine emotion, right? Like, you could tell where she was being natty. And then when she had to go, okay, now I have to get in character. Now I have to be Natalya and beat the crap out of this little girl. So it was all great. It was a really great segment. And I love what this means, because we have seen these veterans who have kind of like either been lost in the shuffle or lost in their ways or just haven't been utilized on the main roster. They have come back to NXT, and it goes back to Finn Balor, right? Finn Balor, even AJ Styles to a certain extent, getting back into his singles bit with Grayson Waller, because he was basically Omos's, manager, player, coach / guy, the guy who would take all the losses.
Or as Edge put it, bitch.
Yeah. Omos's bitch. Yeah, we'll just drop the natty words here. Omos's bitch, and then he gets in there and starts doing his thing with Grayson Waller, and now he's doing his thing with Edge. Dolph Ziggler and Robert Roode seem like such a bigger deal in NXT than they ever were. I'm surprised that they took the NXT championship off of him after he beat Breakker at Stand and Deliver. So these
well, I said it last night. I think Veer stretchered Dominic straight into NXT. So
that would honestly, that's a good place for him, I think, because I think he's floundering a little bit on the main roster. And I think if you paired him up with Santos Escobar, I think that would be some really, really compelling stuff. And you could lead up to next year at WrestleMania, Santos Escobar versus Rey Mysterio, which should be a match at WrestleMania next year if you start planning things out now. But we know that's not WWE.
It almost feels like they're turning Legado face, though, with this Tony D'Angelo thing. I don't know if that's what's going to happen, because they keep flip-flopping Tony. They make him a baby face, and they make him a heel. Then they make him a baby face, they make him a heel. Now, what we don't know yet, because these are Santos has always been heel. So,
well, see, here's the thing: is you can turn Santos babyface, right?
Yeah.
You can turn Santos babyface. He can work with Dominic Mysterio as a babyface.
Yep.
And then you can move him all up to the main roster, and you can turn Santos and Dominic heel at that point, because you could have the whole jealous father angle, and it's like, well, why don't you listen to me? I'm your dad. Instead, you're listening to this guy who, and you could see that whole kind of angle play out, because kids grow up, right? And they don't want to listen to their parents anymore. They need to hear, so they take advice from somebody else that maybe they shouldn't be taking advice from. You could see that whole kind of story.
You're not even my father.
You're not my real dad. Eddie's my dad. You can see that shit playing out on WWE TV.
Yeah, man.
I love this spot for Natty, and I love this spot for everybody who's going to get to work with Natty and learn from Natalya. And that's the biggest thing about bringing these veterans back. Yeah, you can sit here and say, why is Mandy Rose the NXT Women's Champion right now? Look, this should be a two-way street, right? You want people to graduate and go from NXT and move up to the main roster, but if they ain't working, if they can be better utilized elsewhere, why not move them back down to NXT and let them flourish down there for a while? And it's working with Mandy Rose right now as she retains her NXT championship. We'll talk about that in a second. So Natalya getting to go down there, be that player coach, work with Cora Jade, make her better, work with half the women in the locker room, make them better. That is great. And it's honestly the best use of Natalya right now, instead of just jamming her into multiple tag teams. Yeah. The only issue I have with this, though, is Natalya going to be pulling double duty? Or is her partnership with Shayna Baszler now done, which would drop the women's tag team division down to 2, and everybody and their brother can see that Live for Brutality is not long for this world past Monday.
Unless you pull my ultimate booking and you just have Rhea and Liv beat the holy hell in a DQ situation, just beat the holy hell out of Naomi and Sasha to where they both join Edge's faction.
I wrote about that for Cage Side Seats. It is not the perfect scenario because Liv is such a natural babyface.
Yeah.
But Liv deserves a spot alongside Edge just as much as Rhea Ripley does.
Yeah, that's true. It is so funny. I saw it on Twitter. I can't remember who said it, though, but it was perfect. It's like, Natalya is basically the Dolph Ziggler of the women's division. She's been around forever, held the belt once, twice, maybe. I mean, that was a perfect analogy.
She has been a Divas champion and a SmackDown Women's champion. Yes. Yeah. So, yes, she's had it twice. But, yeah, and Dolph Ziggler is I think a 2-time World Heavyweight Champion. Didn't he lose it, get it back, and then lost it like a month later or some crap?
I know one was Money in the Bank with Del Rio, I think.
Yeah, I think he lost it due to injury and then got it back and then lost it again and never had it. I might be thinking of Christian. It's the same way. But yeah, it's a good analogy because neither one of them get the credit they deserve for being as good as they are. And Dolph proved it again in working with Braun Breaker and winning the NXT championship. So this is a great spot for Natalya. I just worry what this is going to mean for the main roster.
Yeah.
Because, again, we have seen, and this was my biggest fear, okay, you're heating up the women's tag team division heading into WrestleMania. Please don't let this be just because you want to get these 8 women on the card. Please keep some of these teams together. And now all of a sudden, you're looking at a point where we could be doing this show next week, and we have, once again, all of one tag team on the main roster in the women's division, and that would be the champs. Jeremy, let me throw this stat at you. Did you know that the last 5, let me say that again, 5 WWE Women's Tag Team Champions have either been broken up or broken up after they dropped the belts? The last 5 champions aren't teams anymore.
Yeah.
And the last 2 have floundered because they have had no one to defend the titles against. The last time that Carmella and Queen Zelina won a match was January 3rd when they beat Rhea Ripley and Nikki ASH to retain the titles, and then they split. And then they didn't win an entire match. They still haven't won a match together. They never won another match as a tag team again, and now they have been split.
No, it's just like the tag team division probably in, like, I would say the mid 2000s. It was your champions, and then let's throw together a team and have them feud with them, and then we'll throw together another team. They never could organically grow tag teams in the men's division back then, and they're doing the same thing now. And it's even worse now because their champs are not an organically grown tag team, or two former women's champions that are tagging together.
Hey, throw some respect on Team Bad. All right. They were brought up to get, well, not brought up, but they were put in a team initially together, and they do work well with one another. Yes, both of these teams were hastily thrown together, but the Boss and Glow and Live for Brutality are two teams, two pillars you could build a division around. You got to keep both those teams together. Natalya and Shayna Baszler, take them or leave them. That team never really made sense to me.
No.
You got to figure out how you're going to build the women's tag team division around these two teams. Hopefully these two teams, because I don't want Live for Brutality to break up, but I have a feeling it's going to happen sooner rather than later. And I may have an idea of one team that you could put together right now. Right.
Shayna and Ronda.
What?
Shayna and Ronda.
You know what? That's not a bad idea, but I'm thinking of somebody else. Let's dive into this, shall we?
Whoop. It's time to answer the 5 count on the Bleav Podcast Network.
My fat ass thumb there hit a hotkey that I don't know what the hell was
it. It sounded like birds chirping outside or something.
Yeah, it was either birds chirping or crickets or something. I need to get that off of there.
Maybe it has a squeaky wheel that needs the grease,
Yeah, maybe. Stupid fat hands. Anyway, 5 count, 5 biggest questions coming off of NXT, heading into Dynamite tonight.
Dynamite.
It was Title Tuesday. We talked about the NXT Men's Tag Team Championships. The new champion's Pretty Deadly. One of the matches that was last night was for the NXT Women's Championship, as Mandy Rose defended her title against Dakota Kai. And this match was a total roller coaster. It had some really brilliant stuff, but then the bottom dropped out in a lot of spots. There was at least 3 or 4 times in that match that I could look at and go, those two aren't on the same page. And I don't know if it was a chemistry thing or what have you. The crucifix pin was really, really sloppy. There were a couple other sloppy parts, but then it was like they would get it cooking and get it going again, and then they would fall off the wagon. So it was kind of an up and down match last night. You're going to have those. It's not a knock on either one, but Mandy Rose did retain the championship. Some shenanigans involved, ended up hitting the knee while Dakota was holding the NXT Women's Championship. She hangs on to it. A lot of people were rooting for Dakota Kai here, but I don't think anybody actually thought that she would win. And this has been now the story of Dakota Kai. It's like she's right on the cusp, but has never really gotten there. A lot of people thought she should have been the NXT Women's Champion by now. I'm starting to wonder if it ever is going to happen. And it looked like they had something cooking there with Raquel Rodriguez. And then that abruptly got taken away. So I'll ask you, number one here on the 5 count, what is next for Dakota Kai now after failing to capture the NXT Women's Championship last night?
Well, while it was a heartwarming moment, it made absolutely zero sense to put Raquel and Dakota back together again when you already had a team put together that's been working well with Dakota Kai and Wendy Chu. I think they go back to that. I don't think Dakota's getting called up at this point in time. With Raquel already getting called up, I don't, and Io could be called up. We haven't seen Io yet since Stand and Deliver. So I think Io might be getting called up. Could be getting called up with Asuka. You never know. So I don't think it's time for Dakota to get called up. I say go back to what worked and put her with Wendy Chu.
For me, I look at the landscape and I go, where is she needed the most? And it's on SmackDown. I think she should get called up. I don't think she will, but I think she should get called up, and I think she should be put with Raquel. Yes, the tag team with Wendy Chu worked, but you have so many other women in that division. They actually have a tag team division.
Yeah.
Main roster does not. It has, again, 3 teams at the moment. 2 are on thin ice. All right. So again, if Natalya is going to be full-time in NXT, that one's gone. And now you're looking at Live for Brutality, which reports indicate is going to be splitting anytime soon. And I also look at what Raquel is going to be doing on what is Raquel going to be doing? They got her up there as a babyface. Conventional wisdom says, okay, well, you could go against some of the top heels on SmackDown. Who are the top heels on SmackDown? Because Sasha and Naomi are baby faces. You just moved Natalya to NXT. So is it going to be Raquel and Shayna Baszler? Or do we actually think they're going to utilize Shayna Baszler on Friday Night SmackDown? Or is the logical person for her to go up against Charlotte? In which case, what are you going to do while Charlotte is still feuding with Ronda Rousey?
Yeah.
It would be very simple to bring up Dakota Kai and have them be in the tag team division.
Yeah, they'll just do pointless segments with Los Lotharios again.
Exactly. So why don't you just do something that actually makes sense and could actually add some value to the women's division by adding a tag team? I think it would make, look, you wanted to end the storyline with Dakota Kai and Mandy Rose. Okay, that's fine. That's why she didn't show up a week. You could have Dakota do a match with somebody, or not Dakota, excuse me, Raquel do a match with somebody, and there's a team up or something like that, some kind of an angle where Dakota could come in and help her former friend.
And they worked heel for most of their time together. So
they did, yes. But if you're bringing up Raquel as the smiling baby face, I think it makes a ton of sense to bring her up there, Dakota up there with her. And I think that would honestly be best for Dakota as well, because she does not strike me as somebody that WWE would want to book well on the main roster. I think she'll
be Bayley for 3 years before she gets a shot if they book her as a single star in the main roster.
I don't even think. No,
it took Bayley a while to get there.
It took Bayley a while to get there, but they actually let Bayley get there. Like, I think Dakota Kai would be more of a Tegan Nox kind of a situation if she went up there. And Tegan Nox even said, look, for whatever reason, I wasn't what WWE wanted. And I look at Dakota Kai and I don't see her as what WWE wants on the main roster, which is why I think she's not there already.
And, a girl that's been sitting in catering for a while, you could have Raquel feud with Shotzi.
You could. But Shotzi apparently is in creative hiatus hell. They ain't got nothing for her right now.
And so now here you go.
Yeah.
She's a heel. Have her go up against Raquel.
She was, again, WWE doing things that make absolutely no sense. You had this very organic baby face that everybody loved in Shotzi Blackheart. You took away her tank. You made her a heel. And then you took her off TV.
Yeah, and then she was in a great tag team with Ember Moon and had great chemistry. Then you put her on a tag team in the main roster with Tegan Nox. They did not have great chemistry, in my opinion. So, yeah.
My theory is, and I would love to ask her this question, my theory is Ember Moon did not want to go back up to the main roster. That is my theory after what happened the first time she went, where she ended up in 24/7 title chase hell and ended up getting injured as a result of it and almost had to retire.
Where now Nikki ASH is at.
Yeah, my theory is that Ember Moon did not want to go back up to the main roster, which is why they went with Shotzi and Nox instead. And then, they split them up in a draft, no explanation, and then we never saw Tegan again. Nope. So for the betterment of Dakota's future, because I don't know what they're going to have, putting her with Wendy Chu, okay, that may work for a while. But I think putting her with Raquel on the main roster, because obviously I think they got plans for Raquel, I think that would be the best thing for her long term. But we'll see. Again, I'm just looking at the viability of the women's tag team division. I'm going, you guys need teams. Like, you need teams, and you need teams that make sense. And at least there's enough history there with Dakota and Raquel. That's what I would do on SmackDown.
I just think they're going to do like they did in the mid-2000s when you had your tag champions, you had one established team. That was basic. I can't remember who, off the top of my head, but then you'd throw Jericho and Big Show together, and then, then they would lose and break up. It's exactly the same thing 15 years later, what they did with the men. So I don't foresee them building women's teams right now. I mean, they broke up the Iconics only to put them in a tag team with two other people, which was completely ridiculous. So
yeah, and how many tag teams has Liv Morgan been in at this time? I would not be surprised if it ends up being her and Alexa Bliss in a tag team after this. That's something that SP3 brought up. One thing that I would not mind, by the way, this was a fake rumor that was thrown out there. It was credited to Sean Rossap, but he came out and said, look, I never said anything like that. But there was this fake rumor floating around on Twitter that Becky and Bayley would be a tag team. And honestly, I wish that rumor was true, because I think those two would make incredible magic together, especially feuding with Sasha and Naomi. But again, it would be the same thing. You take two single stars and you put them together, and then they'd probably be tag champs for like 6 months. And then they would feud afterwards, and they would immediately split up. So
and I honestly think Bayley's going to go to SmackDown to feud with Charlotte after she beats Ronda again at WrestleMania Backlash.
I don't know, man.
So I think she's going to come back I think Bayley's going to come back as a babyface.
Exactly, which is why I'd put her on Raw and feud her with Becky, because that is the one feud that we really haven't gotten as far as the 4 horsewomen are concerned.
Yeah.
Every
just
other
feel
iteration of a 4 horsewoman feud has happened except for Becky and Bayley, and that's the one that everybody wants.
Yeah, and I just feel like they'll put Asuka on Raw unless they're going to pair Asuka and Io. I don't know if they're going to do that or not.
I think that's a very stereotypical thing to do, but I also think it's something that, again, the women's tag team division desperately needs right now.
Yeah. But also I could see Asuka feuding with Bianca Belair as a fresh matchup too.
I think they're going to turn Rhea Ripley heel, and I think after after she makes quick work of Sonya Deville at WrestleMania Backlash, I think it's going to be Rhea Ripley and Bianca Belair for over the course of the summer.
Oh yeah, they'll be pushing Rhea to the top when she joins Edge's faction.
Absolutely, which is why I want Liv Morgan in that faction as well. Instant elevation, baby. And if anybody deserves some solid creative footing for a while, it's Liv Morgan.
But we know better, right?
Yeah. So coming up this Friday, by the way, we'll stick with the women's division for one more segment here. Number 2 here on the 5 count. Coming up this Friday on Level Up. If you don't know what Level Up is, it's 205 Live. Just with a different name. It's a pre-taped show. Spoiler alert, ladies and gentlemen. Plug your ears if you don't want to know. Roxy is going to be making her WWE debut. If you don't know who Roxy is, former ROH women's champion, obviously vacated that belt once she moved up to and signed with WWE after the company originally went out of business there. She has a new name. Sorry, brace yourselves. You knew this was coming, right? You knew it was coming. I actually like this one. Jeremy, I do. Roxy is now Roxanne Perez. Roxanne! And again, she'll be making her debut this Friday. I like the name. I think it's a great little play off of what her name used to be. And seeing as, you know, it could be Ludwig Kaiser, for crying out loud. All right?
I don't hate that one, actually.
Okay. It could be a myriad of other. It could be Butch. All right.
Yeah, Butch. That one. Yeah.
Could be a lot of different things that
I figured they were going to call Ciampa Tom Morrow. Hey, look, it's tomorrow. That's good shit, pal.
I think SP3 said Tommy Champion. I think that's what they said they were going to turn his name into. But hey, he got to keep it, and then Austin Theory lost his first name. I like Roxanne Perez. I know people are going to bitch because people always bitch. She wasn't going to keep Roxy. I thought maybe they would just call her Roxy, like
Roxy
C.
C. Roxy C. I would have liked that one. I think Roxanne Perez is so generic, but I like the first name, but I don't know. It just seems a little generic to me, but hey, we get used to it. I mean, we got used to Finn Balor. We got used to Kevin Owens. We got used to Sami Zayn. So, yeah, we'll get used to it.
She's an incredible talent. Really, really young. Fits exactly the bill of what WWE is trying to build in its women's division, why they're pushing Cora Jade, while they're pushing Nikita Lyons. And I think Roxanne Perez is going to be skyrocketed up the card sooner rather than later, and will be competing probably this time next year for the NXT Women's Championship. I would not be surprised if it's that kind of an elevation, because she's a freaking prodigy, man, as young as she is. And you look at talent like Cora Jade and Nikita and Roxanne. The future's bright, man. These are some young kids who are already really, really, really talented.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how she fits in with NXT and such. You know, I think her and Cora Jade would make a pretty good tag team. And the sad part is their combined age. I think I'm older than their combined age, so I don't know. What is Roxy 21?
I think she's 19, isn't she?
Oh, she's 19. Okay, yeah, I'm older than them combined. That's sad. Cora Jade, I think, turns 21 this year, or just turned 21.
Born in 2001.
Man,
so she's 20. November 5th, 2001. So she is 20 years old.
I'm older than both of those girls combined. That is sad.
You don't look a day over 39, though.
Great. That's good. That's good. I'll take it. She is very talented. I don't know if many people know who she is in the NXT WWE world, so they're about to find out. And it's going to be interesting kind of what they do with her in the beginning. Maybe she steps up and comes to the aid of Cora, and we get a Roxy a Roxanne Perez Natty match. I would not hate that at all.
Wouldn't hate that one bit. And by the way, the real question is going to be, what's her name going to be when she makes it up to the main roster? Because you know they're dropping Perez the second to get there. So she's just going to be Roxanne, right?
Yeah.
And her finisher will be the red light. You know, that's exactly what WWE
Roxanne
is definitely going to do. It was Title Tuesday last night. We had an North American title match that actually kicked off the show. You knew it was going to be jam-packed because both competitors got the jobbers entrance, didn't get their music, no nothing, no nonsense. They open up the show. Here's the open. There's the bell. Let's frickin' go. Cameron Grimes retains over Solo Sikoa, thanks to Trick Williams getting involved. And then, you know, you had Carmelo Hayes who's showing up and putting both competitors on notice saying, hey, I want my damn title back. Yeah. But let's focus on Solo here, who had a really, really great showing last night in this match with Cameron Grimes. And by the end of it, like, people were actively cheering for him to win the match and win the title after Grimes just got the biggest pop of his life when he won the damn North American title last weekend at Stand and Deliver in a fantastic ladder match.
Yeah.
They got a star in Solo Sikoa, and I'm not the only one who noticed this on Twitter. They are increasingly mentioning the fact that he is part of a certain line, shall we say a bloodline. He is related to Roman Reigns and the Usos, if you couldn't tell just by looking at the guy. So I will ask you, Jeremy, because I look at what he can do in the ring. I look at what he can do on the mic. Obviously, he's got the family there, and I'm sitting here going, you know, if Roman wants to win all the gold on the main roster, maybe he might need a couple more family members.
One of the greatest factions of all time was the Four Horsemen. You had a tag team with Tully and Arn. You had a United States Championship caliber guy like Barry Windham, and you had the world title guy in Ric Flair. So Solo Sikoa, clearly there. I mean, you know, Cameron Grimes said it. You know, his bloodline could kiss my grits as he's pointing to his ass to the moon. But yeah, they're clearly. They're clearly not, not ignoring it, that he's a part of the bloodline.
So the question is here, how much longer are you keeping Solo Sikoa in NXT?
I mean, if your plan is to have the Usos beat RK Bro at WrestleMania Backlash, I say you debut him the very next week. But I don't know it's very quick from when he's debuted from NXT. A lot of people thought Braun Breaker was going to go up quicker, but he didn't. I don't know. But at the same time, there is this built-in thing for Solo Sikoa with the bloodline. There's just something there that you've got to strike it while they have all the titles, so then you can add even more titles to it.
See, here's the thing: is you could put him with the bloodline and still keep him in NXT. You could have him show up on WrestleMania Backlash actually and help the Usos win that unified tag team title match, which does fit the bloodline's whole storyline. Because how many times has the Usos helped Roman Reigns win a match, even though he doesn't need the assistance in winning that match? So it makes total sense for you. And you could kind of protect RK Bro to have Solo Sikoa show up, maybe take out Randy Orton or take out Matt Riddle and allow Riddle to eat the pin, because usually when they lose, it's Riddle who's taking that pinfall. And then you could have like the Usos kind of go back and forth and be that coach for Solo in NXT to lead him to a North American title win or an NXT title win. You don't necessarily have to bring him up. And that's what I love about this two-way street and bringing all these different veterans back and forth onto NXT, because you could do that with the Usos. It's a little bit more travel for them, and I'm sure they wouldn't want to do that long term, but you could have them work both shows and do that whole kind of cup of coffee introduction to the main roster like they did with Tommaso Ciampa before they officially brought him up to Raw.
Yeah, and Adam Pearce could throw the hammer down and say Roman Reigns is banned from ringside. Oh, but he didn't say that Solo Sikoa is banned from ringside. So that's a way you could do it. And I'll tell you what, though, man, that this is almost the main event right here. This tag team title match. It almost feels like this is the main event of the show.
It certainly doesn't seem like, at least right now. I'll reserve judgment until I see what happens on SmackDown, because I'm not entirely sold that even if Shinsuke Nakamura does get a WWE Universal title shot, that match is actually happening on a pay-per-view. That seems like a SmackDown before WrestleMania Backlash main event type of match, because they typically have not booked Shinsuke Nakamura in that light. To me, it makes sense. I can draw the connections to why Shinsuke Nakamura would get this spot. You need somebody that Reigns hasn't faced for the title yet. Reigns has got to beat somebody new. You don't want to move on to Drew McIntyre. You don't want to, hop into anything else too quickly. This makes enough sense to me to do this at WrestleMania Backlash.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's going to get on the card. So in that case, yeah, you look at what's the most over program right now. Well, hell yeah, man. They may try to make it Charlotte and Ronda. They may try.
Yeah, you got 3 weeks, though. You got 3 weeks to do something.
I think people are going to be more into RK Bro and the Usos than anything else on the WrestleMania Backlash card, for sure. And I think it would be a hell of a spot in the main event to introduce Solo Sikoa to the main roster.
Yeah, and like I said, you got 3 weeks to build this, so there's plenty of time to get that done. There's plenty of time to get a Shinsuke build done too. Obviously it was sudden to have Shinsuke interrupt, but keep in mind WrestleMania Backlash ain't until the second week of May, so we have time.
It's May 8th,
May 8th? 9th, I think.
By the way,
May 9th. Wait, no, that's Sunday, May 8th, I think.
We're doing show prep in the middle of the show. This makes for a fantastic podcast. But yes, you have a little bit of time there to lead up to that. And here's the thing, even if Shinsuke and Roman make it onto the card, that has show opener written all over for me. Like, I don't and again, I'm not saying this like I don't want people to hear this and say that like I'm disparaging Shinsuke Nakamura. I think the guy's an incredible talent, should have been a main eventer, should have won the WWE championship years ago. I'm just going by the way that he has been booked for the last 3 years, and I go, okay, he hasn't been booked as a main eventer. Even when he was feuding with AJ Styles, he wasn't booked as a main eventer. I don't see him getting a main event spot with Roman Reigns at WrestleMania.
No, and Roman Reigns has not been pinned since October of 2019. It just does not feel like Shinsuke Nakamura is going to be the guy to do that.
No,
it's probably going to be Cody Rhodes by way of Money in the Bank, calling his shot, challenging Roman at SummerSlam, because right now he's on Raw. So the only way to get him over to the SmackDown side is to win Money in the Bank, show up on SmackDown, and he's not going to win it by a cheap attack or slide in after a match. He's going to call his shot at SummerSlam, and they're going to main event it, and he's going to win the title.
Here's the thing, though. He doesn't even have to do that because Roman Reigns can go on both shows. So
yeah, because they haven't decided, what
they're doing yet.
Originally the plan was to unify those titles and create a new one, but they haven't gotten around to doing the new one yet. So who knows? Maybe they aren't.
I still think there's going to be at some point this year that they split the belts up. I really, really do. I would not be surprised if at some point this year, based on how everything is cooking right now, Cody Rhodes will be the WWE champion, and I think Edge will be the Universal champion. I think at some point that is going to happen this year.
I just don't know why there was the idea that they needed to introduce a new world title and combine WWE Universal. It just does not make any sense.
Because they're flying by the seat of their pants like they always do. We have to make this the biggest match of all time, and I don't know why you couldn't just go with Roman 2 Reigns instead of just, oh, we're going to unify the belts, but we're not really going to unify the belts. Even if you go to WWE.com right now and you go to the champions section, it's Roman Reigns there twice with both belts listed as WWE and Universal Champion separately. They haven't made up their mind what the hell they're going to do. I think they're going to realize sooner rather than later that both brands need a world title. That said, both brands do not need their own tag team championships. It makes all the sense in the world to go ahead and unify those. Regardless, things are going to look a lot different come this September. A major announcement yesterday for our friends over in the UK. We know a lot of media folk over there who cover WWE. It is huge there. For the first time in 30 years, a major WWE stadium show is going to the UK. 74,500 seater Principality Stadium in Wales. They're going to host a major event in September. This ain't just going to be no house show. This is going to be a huge pay-per-view, potential huge matchup. So number 4 here on the 5 count, Jeremy, Is there a match you want to see on this card specifically? Match or matches that you want to see on this UK show?
I want to see Tyson Fury and Drew McIntyre. This has been going about on social media for so long, and this is the perfect spot to do it. I think having that match in Wales would be just the perfect spot to lay that down. I want to see Walter and Roman Reigns, even though Walter's on Raw. I don't know what.
Hey, Gunter.
Oh,
it's
yeah, Gunter. Yeah, my bad. Yeah, they're still chanting Walter, by the way.
Shit.
At the same time, you know, he's holding both belts, so you could have Gunther take on Raw. I think Gunther and Roman Reigns would be a tremendous title match on that. Then you know, well, it's September 3rd. Cody could be world champion by now. You know, at that point, give me Cody Rhodes and Edge.
Ooh. Damn. SummerSlam is early this year.
July 30th. July this year.
Yeah, so this will be a month removed.
This will be the next premium live event after SummerSlam, because I'm assuming, I would not be surprised if they bring back the Insurrection brand name.
I like London Has Fallen personally. I don't know if Wales and London are in actually like the same location. My geography is way off when it comes to the UK, but like I like, they're not going to go with that because that's a movie title. But I'm just trying to think outside the box.
Yeah.
As far as matches, I want to see. Trying just kind of keeping up with the NXT theme here tonight. This has got to be the place that Wade Barrett comes out of retirement, right? Like
I've seen people on Twitter say that tonight. Yep.
Yeah, Wade Barrett needs to come out of retirement. And you say McIntyre versus Fury. Okay, cool. Let me raise you Wade Barrett versus Drew McIntyre. That I think is the match that if Wade's going to come out of retirement, he absolutely needs to have. That's the one that I would want to book. I don't think WWE is going to see it that way because obviously they love the big money stars. They want to bring in Tyson Fury. I think that's the match that'll probably end up happening. But I think Wade Barrett being on this card does make a ton of sense if he wants to do it. If he wants to do it, no pressure there.
What about Wade Barrett and Pat McAfee?
Honestly, I think the consolation prize I think is Wade Barrett and Sheamus.
Yeah,
that's a match that makes a ton more sense.
You know, I'm
together at some point, weren't they in a? Weren't they both in League of Nations?
League of Nations, yeah.
Yeah,
it was Sheamus, Rusev, Del Rio, and Barrett.
And Rusev.
Oh yeah, who was not in it then? Barrett was not?
No, there were four of them.
There were four: Sheamus, Del Rio,
Barrett,
Rusev. I thought I named a fifth one.
No,
I don't know.
No. We know how to count on this show.
My pipe dream, though, with announcers is clearly, and it's been mentioned on social media by both sides, I think, is Team Corey, Team McAfee, Survivor Series. That's what I want for the announcers. Wade Barrett, yeah, that'd be great. I think I don't see them. It depends on Tyson Fury's schedule, but I don't see how they cannot do that match because they both want it. I just don't see this is the perfect venue for that. I just don't. There's no other venue that's going to top that for Drew and Tyson Fury.
Yeah, I think Drew's going to be in the main event at this show, and probably rightfully so. This is something that he's been pushing for. This is something that he's literally manifested to happen. I think he and Tyson Fury is a headline fight that would main event this event. So yeah, that's probably what's going to end up happening. So I'll put Wade Barrett and Sheamus on this card. And then another match that I've wanted to see for quite some time that I was hoping we would see at NXT UK Dublin, Becky Lynch and Kaylee Ray. I think that a match that would tear the damn house down. So let's please, for the love of God, make that happen. You want to talk about matches that are going to tear the house down? How about the entire freaking Dynamite card tonight? Dynamite going extra tonight, according to Dave Meltzer of the Wrestling Observer. So set your DVRs accordingly. He says up to 30 minutes past tonight. Going 2.5 hours. Jeremy, to close out the show here. Number 5 on the 5 count. What are you looking forward to the most on tonight's absolutely redonkulously stacked card? Tony Khan going crazy on a Wednesday in April.
It's got to be a match that we never thought we would see ever again, and that's Samoa Joe and Minoru Suzuki. Those two are going to beat the dog shit out of each other, and it is going to be glorious. And it's you just never thought you would ever see this because you never knew what Joe's status was because they kept him off from wrestling. WWE did. And you never knew where Joe was going to end up. What was he going to do? Was he going to continue to wrestle? I mean, there were so many question marks when he got fired. And so thankfully those got answered at Supercard of Honor. And holy cow, Tony, thanks for giving Rick a great birthday present because boy, but then, I mean, yesterday's announcement was no slouch either, Rick.
Yeah. CM Punk has been saying, hey, somebody wrestle me. Somebody wrestle me. He's been doing on the social media rounds, tagged everybody except Samoa Joe. Interestingly enough, said somebody show up and wrestle me. So Tony Khan yesterday says, okay, fine. We'll put CM Punk in action against throw the dart against the wall. Oh, Penta. No problem. There we frickin' go. And I think, man, I'm like, I'm sitting here and I'm going, okay, all right. I can't choose. I literally can't. And those are just two of the matches on the damn card tonight. Yeah. I know a lot of people are going to be focused on Suzuki and Joe, but I think Punk and Penta are going to steal the damn show tonight. And either way, I'm going to take the cop-out answer and say all of it. Like just take this entire show tonight and stick it in my veins. I'm going to be like, I got the night off, right? Like tomorrow on the show, it's going to be True Heel Takeover again. So SP3 and his crew are going to be taking over the show for tomorrow to recap Dynamite. But I'm like, I can't take the night off. Like I ain't missing this damn show tonight. That ain't happening. So
and that match is for the ROH TV title too, by the way. Yeah. So to see Joe hold an ROH title, I figured Joe's going to win unless Joe gets screwed. Obviously Jay Lethal could screw him, which might be the likely thing. But I mean, hell, you got another title match in there too, which could be a tie. I feel like that's going to be a title change. I think Red Dragon's going to beat Jurassic Express.
Yeah, I think so too. Yeah,
I think Jurassic Express's tag team run has been very lackluster. It's just lacked good feuds. So I think it's time to switch to Red Dragon. And my God, Keith Lee and Swerve taking on Hobbs and Ricky Starks. That's going to be a lot of fun. That's been a great feud that Rampage has solely needed. They've really needed a great feud, and those four guys feuding have really been the talk of Rampage lately. And that's just the tip of the iceberg. There's still probably 3 or 4 other matches that we haven't even mentioned, that are.
Well, and here's the other thing. I mean, this is just the start of the week.
Yeah,
this is just the start of the week because don't forget we got a freaking Texas Death Match on Rampage Friday for the AEW World Championship on Rampage.
Is Jaden Marina on Friday too?
I can't remember to be completely
Marina
honest.
takes on Sky Blue on tonight. So but I can't remember if Jade and Marina is on Friday too.
Is that or is that at Battle of the Belts on Saturday?
Oh, that could be on Battle of Belts. Yeah.
Yeah. So there's a lot of wrestling this weekend. And it's a damn good thing for it. A lot of wrestling this week. It is a good time to be a pro wrestling fan. And as a dear friend of ours always says, just shut up and enjoy it. We appreciate you guys tuning in to the Bleav in Pro Wrestling podcast. All 53 minutes of this half-hour episode. Thank you so much, Jeremy. Number 1 in the books. A lot more to go. Hopefully they give us as many headlines. This just moving forward, just keep this train rolling. I really do think NXT 2.0 is starting to find its groove here. And I love the integration that they've been doing with Raw and now SmackDown Superstars. And I think it's starting to pick up some steam here a little bit. I really do. I'm not just blowing smoke as much as the Street Profits may want that. Make sure to like, share, subscribe, guys. We are building closer and closer to monetization. We see the audience growing. Really, really appreciate that. Thank you to everybody who's tuned in to all the interviews we did on WrestleMania weekend. And hopefully I'll have some more coming up here soon. Tomorrow, 7 a.m., True Heel Heat Takeover. I'm going to go enjoy the rest of your weekend or rest of your Wednesday. I'm going to go enjoy the rest of my birthday. Y'all take care. Peace. You've been listening to the Bleav in Pro Wrestling podcast brought to you by Bet Online.